Electrical components and equipment. Electrical equipment in engine room. Generators, motors, switchboards, lighting, switches, starters, starter panels. A ship is like a floating city with all the privileges enjoyed by any normal land city. Just like a conventional place. The ship also requires all the basic amenities to sustain life on board. The chief among them is power or electricity. Shibu power is generated using a prime mover and an alternator working together. An alternating current generator is used on board. The generator consists of a stationary set of conductors wound in coils on an iron core. This is known as the stator. As shown, the rotor is located between the stator. The alternator is connected to an auxiliary engine. Electric generators work on the principle of electromagnetic induction. More than a number of poles more. The current produced. Many ships are equipped with jobs and readers with the rotations of the main engine of the ship is used to operate the alternator and generate additional electricity. As main engine speed, whereas as per the requirement of the ship, a gearbox are in mid is provided to provide a constant speed to shaft alternator. The power generated by these marines and readers is transported to the main switchboard using bus bars. The main switchboard is considered as a distribution hub of the ship's electrical system, taking power from the generator and distributing it to the power consumer spread all over the ship. A part of the main switchboard is provided with a 220-volt supply via a step-down transformer. This is an electrical motor is one of the most important devices ever to be invented. These motors are used everywhere from pumping the water we drink to powering elevators and cranes, even cooling nuclear power stations. So we are going to look inside one and learn in detail exactly how they work in this video. The induction motor will look something like this. They turn electrical energy into mechanical energy, which we can use to drive pumps, fans, compressors, gears, pulleys, etc. Almost all the parts are held inside the main housing. At the front, we find the shaft. This is the part of the rotate, and we can connect things like pumps, gears and pulleys to this to do work for us. At the back, we find the fan and a protective cover. The then is connected to the shaft. And so it rotates whenever the motor operates. That's because the induction motor can produce a lot of heat when in operation. So the fan blows ambient air over the casing to cool it down. If the induction motor became too hot, the insulation of the internal electrical coils will melt. This will cause a short circuit, and the motor will destroy itself. The fins on the side of the enclosure help to increase the surface area. And that lets us remove more unwanted heat. The shaft is supported by some bearings. We'd sit inside the front as well as the rear shields. The bearings help the shaft rotate smoothly and also hold it in position. Inside the housing, we find this data. This data is stationary and does not rotate. This consists of a number of copper wires, which are wrapped in two coils between the slots positioned around the inner perimeter. The copper wires are coated with a special Schall enamel, which electrically integrates the wires from each other. This means electricity has to flow through the entire coil. Otherwise it would take the shortest path possible. And we'll see why that's important a little later in this video. Now, this is a three-phase induction motor. So we have three separated sets of coils in the stator. The ends of each set will connect with the terminals within the electrical terminal box. We will also see how these are connected a little later in this video. When connected to the electrical supply, the stator generates a rotating electromagnetic field. Connected to the shaft is the rotor. In this case, it's a squirrel cage type rotor. It's called a squirrel cage because it has two end rings which are connected by some bars. And these will all rotate together. This design is similar to a small cage or an exercise wheel used by a pet hamster or even a squirrel. The squirrel cage is fitted with a number of laminated steel sheets. The sheets will help concentrate magnetic field into the bars. Sheets are used instead of a solid piece of metal, as this improves the efficiency by reducing the size of the eddy currents in the rotor. When the rotor is placed inside the stator and the stator is connected to an electrical power supply, the rotor will begin to rotate.